Corporate tax registration, deregistration, and compliance obligations in the UAE. Registering for corporate tax. All taxable persons operating within the UAE are required to register for corporate tax with the Federal Tax Authority, FTA. Upon registration, they must obtain a tax registration number for corporate tax purposes. It is crucial for taxable persons to complete this registration process before a deadline specified by the FTA. While this deadline has yet to be announced, taxable persons are strongly encouraged to initiate their registration as soon as they determine that their business activities will fall within the scope of corporate tax. Early registration helps ensure compliance with UAE tax laws and mitigates potential administrative penalties. Registration guidelines for non-resident persons. For non-resident persons, special rules apply regarding their corporate tax registration obligations. If a non-resident does not have a permanent establishment, pay, in the UAE but earns state-sourced income, they have the option to forego corporate tax registration. However, if the non-resident establishes a nexus or substantial presence within the UAE, corporate tax registration becomes mandatory. This ensures that non-resident persons conducting significant economic activities in the UAE adhere to tax regulations. Discretionary registration by the FTA. The Federal Tax Authority reserves the right to register a person for corporate tax at its discretion. This authority is exercised based on the information available to the FTA if there is reasonable belief that a person qualifies as a taxable person under the prevailing corporate tax legislation. This measure enables the FTA to ensure compliance among entities that may otherwise fail to register voluntarily. Tax deregistration procedures. If a corporate tax registered person ceases to be a taxable person due to any reason, such as cessation of business activities, dissolution, or liquidation, they must file a tax deregistration application with the FTA. The deregistration process can only proceed if all outstanding corporate tax liabilities, penalties, and all previously required tax returns have been fully settled and submitted. Upon approval of the deregistration application, the FTA will issue an official deregistration, effective from the date of business cessation or another date as deemed appropriate by the FTA. Timely submission of a deregistration application is essential. Taxable persons must submit this application within 3 months from the date of business cessation, dissolution, liquidation, or any other applicable termination of existence. Failure to comply with this requirement will result in a penalty of AED 1,000 upon expiration of the deadline, followed by a recurring monthly penalty of AED 1,000 for each month of non-compliance, up to a maximum total of AED 10,000. Further details on tax deregistration timelines and related requirements can be found in FTA Decision No. 6 of 2023 on tax deregistration timeline. FTA enforced deregistration. In situations where a person fails to meet their tax deregistration obligations, the FTA may, based on the available information and at its discretion, proceed with deregistering the taxable person. This enforced tax deregistration will be effective from the later of either the last day of the tax period during which the taxable person satisfied their corporate tax obligations or the date on which the taxable person ceases to exist. For more details, contact us.